Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Cranbourne East Secondary College podcast. Per usual, you got myself, Mr. L, and on my screen underneath me, I have our usual as well, Mr.
Young. Welcome back.
But we also have two special guests. I know on your screens it might not look like it, but on my screen, I have two special guests. First of all, we have Miss Hassan down here and Miss Tan, so double guest. So let's introduce our guests first of all, starting with Miss Hassan. Miss Hassan, if there's any students who haven't had you before, what exactly do you teach at Cranbourne East Secondary?
I teach VCAL, so I teach all of VCAL stuff. I also teach humanities, and I've taught humanities in year 7, 8, and 10 at the school. And I also do VCE. So this year I'm doing year 12 legal studies.
Wow, good balance of both. It's pretty much across the whole school. So a lot of people should know you.
Yeah, and they should know me as well from, maybe the year 7s don't know me, but a lot of the kids know me from doing student voice and doing whole school assemblies and stuff.
True, yeah. And I guess in these last 2 years, or it feels like it's been 3 years. I can't tell from COVID anymore. Is it 2 years or 3 years? But you've had someone shadowing you every once in a while. So 3, yeah. So Miss Tan, would you like to introduce yourself? When did you join our school and what have you been doing at our school?
Hello, I'm Miss Tan. I'm Miss Hassan's student teacher. So I started placement at Cranbourne East in 2019. So it was for 10 days only, but it was so much fun. She offered for me to volunteer. So I did. I came back after placement to volunteered in 2020. And then this year, my final year, I requested to come back to the school for placement.
That's awesome.
And so I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, and the final placement was a lot longer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like 55 days all up this year, I think.
Wow, that's a long time, 55 days.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who have listened in previous weeks, you know that Mr. Young and myself bring it up quite often. But Mr. Young, what's your experience with Cranbourne East before you became a teacher here?
Oh man, like I had this one mentor, wouldn't leave me alone. Just always told me off for everything. No, I'm kidding. So Mr. Lam was my mentor for my student teacher days. I think within the first day, we realized like how similar we were and how much we clicked.
Yeah.
Because I think our conversation was like, oh, our parents used to take us to Box Hill to go grocery shopping. And then I was like, oh, that happens to me. And then you were like, oh, that was me too. And then we just like started listing things off and we were like, this is too much. We need to stop before we find out too much about each other.
Yeah.
That happens to a lot of people going to Box Hill for grocery shopping.
I know, right? The thing is, when I talk to a lot of students at Cranbourne East, the only time that they have heard of or been to Box Hill usually has been to do with the footy. And that was pre-COVID, of course, because I know they have, I think they've got a pretty strong footy program / club there. So I know of that. But otherwise, a lot of students, when I talk to them about Box Hill, they're just like, heard of it, but haven't actually been there. So yeah. So Miss Tan, going back to you first. So in terms of being a student teacher and following Miss Hassan around, what would you say is the most eye-opening thing that you've learnt with placements that you never got ready for at uni?
Okay, well, the biggest thing is being introduced to VCAL, because in my school, we didn't offer VCAL at all. And in uni, you never talk about VCAL. But then coming to placement, literally the first day went to a VCAL classroom and I was like, what is this? Like, I've never seen this before. And it was so crazy because I had no idea what it was. It was numeracy, and like the booklets they were doing was all very practical, like life stuff. So much so that when they asked me questions, I was like, you know what? I actually don't know what stamp duty is, so I can't help you right now. But that was like the biggest thing that I learned from placement pretty much. And now I love VCAL.
Perfect. Oh, stamp duty. And Miss Hassan, having, Miss Tan on her first day, do you remember any particular advice that you gave her, or did you just bring her straight into the classroom, let her see it herself? What did you do? Do you remember?
The first thing I said is, are you sure you want to be a teacher? Like, have you thought about this? But she was so positive and so enthusiastic that I was like, okay, have you ever seen a VCAL classroom before? And she's like, VCAL? No. And I was like, right, okay. hold on to your hat, let's go. And so we kind of went into the classroom, and my advice to her was get to know your students. Like, talk to them. Students are people. You know, we want to form a good relationship with them. We want to laugh. And what Miss Tan noticed a lot is I banter a lot with my kids in the classroom. So we're always making, you know, fun of each other, but in a nice way, obviously, not being nasty, but we always try to make fun of each other and look at the fun things in life, and, you know, make fun of the fact that a lot of us are in the real world but don't actually know all the real world things, like you know, how much interest you're getting charged on your credit card, and you know, stamp duty and how to get insurance. So it's really about learning those real life things, and the advice that I gave to her was just enjoy it. Go in there and enjoy that time with your students, and the more you get to know them, the more you'll love them more and more, and you just want to keep going back. And now let her tell you herself, but now she loves VCAL, and she actually has recently got a job. And she's going to be working in VCAL.
That's awesome. You know, I think that's one of the great things as well. Like, I just wish somebody had told me about stamp duty as well, and like taxes and stuff like that before I left high school, because when I got out of high school, it was such a huge jump for me to learn all these things. And I think, you know, with all of us all being of Asian descent, I don't know about your parents, but my parents need me to translate everything for them. So every single letter. And I remember even from a young high school age, I'm looking at all this like technical jargon, and I'm like, I have no idea what you want me to translate for you. I didn't even get this myself. So I think it would have been good if I had been taught these skills beforehand myself. But I actually want to pose to Mr. Young as well a question, because same thing with you. If I remember, when you joined me as my student teacher at uni, you were only trained for science and bio, chemistry, right? But do you remember any particular subjects that I put you in where you weren't trained for as well?
Oh, too many. There was one. It was definitely one that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone, which was Digitech. So what happened with that was basically Mr. Learn was like, okay, so I have these classes, you need to teach these many hours, and you need to observe these many hours. And so Mr. Learn started going through all the list of classes. And I'm like, okay. So there's like science, there's biology, I can do those. And then I see Digitech, and then Mr. Learn so kindly let me teach Digitech, and I had to teach HTML coding. And at that point, I was like, the bare minimum I can do for coding is finding the average on an Excel spreadsheet. And that's how much I know. And I had to learn a whole new coding language just to teach it to my year 10s at the time.
Yeah, I do remember though, I have had some student teachers who had to take some P2S classes from me as well before. Whilst you were teaching P2S, Mr. Hassan, did you ever have Miss Tan with you? And did she ever get to observe or try P2S classes herself? Do you remember?
No, unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, she wasn't there for that. But P2S is kind of like WRS in VCAL and PDS, like before a foundation level. So it's kind of those two subjects in one, you know, doing those community awareness projects, getting out there and meeting your community, and doing stuff around work-related stuff. So getting ready for your interviews. So a lot of that, but we do it at a higher level, obviously, in VCAL, but it's kind of like that. So she wasn't unfortunately there for that, but yeah.
And pre-COVID, some of this community stuff, you actually get to go out and see the students at like doing the community work outside of the school, don't you, right? Have you ever had a chance to bring Miss Tan along? Because I definitely remember bringing Mr. Young for an experience. I'll get him to elaborate on that later. But was there any particular key places you want to bring up, Miss Tan, that you remember going to visit and seeing what the students were doing?
We went to the primary school at the start of this year. So what year was it? Year 11 students would go to the primary school, like right next door, and help with the preps or year 2, like year 1, year 2s. Yeah. And it was fun because all the year 11s were so scared of all the little preps, and it was a good moment where I was like, yeah, primary school's not for me. But it was nice seeing the kids being scared of the little ones. So that was cool that they did that.
And
unfortunately, we had planned to go on quite a few excursions, but we kind of couldn't because of COVID. We were going to go to the Werribee Zoo this year.
Oh.
And Miss Tan, did you come with us to the escape rooms?
Yes, I came to the escape room.
We went to an
The student
escape
voice
room.
people.
Yeah.
What?
Student voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
I
You
think I
got the
remember
wrong
seeing
mentor.
that. Oh wow! Oh my heart! I'm like, oh. But I remember seeing that on Facebook, on the school Facebook page. I remember that. But even though Mr. Young didn't get to go to an external escape room, mind you, but Mr. Young, we did our own escape rooms at school, didn't we? And I taught you how to make your escape room, so that's even better, right?
Of course, it's always better when it's homemade.
Just like cooking. And do you remember where we had to go visit students, Mr. Young, for your student teacher placement? I took you to some places, if you remember.
So there was one that was at a primary school as well.
Mhm.
That one I kind of remember because there were quite a few processes for us to actually be able to get into that primary school and like have a look around.
Mhm.
And I remember seeing so many little ones just like super excited that there were more adults coming into the room, and they were like, oh my god, it's new people, like as if like we were like a new figurine toy or something. They were like just fascinated.
Yeah.
And then the other one, which was the most memorable, like the one that I liked the most, was where we went to a vet,
Mm.
or an adoption. I think it was either a vet or an adoption center.
It was a vet. I remember we're visiting a student who's doing work experience, because I was year 10, in charge of year 10 at the time. And so we had some students who were at the vet. I don't remember if we actually got to interact with any. Oh no, we did. We did get to interact with some animals. So that was
why it was my highlight, because like whilst we were like checking in on the students, I was just like looking at all the like little animals and being like, well, you're a good boy. You're a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Good dog. Good cat.
Yeah. Mm. And I guess one question I did want to ask everyone, because even though, you know, with Mrs. Han being a teacher herself, but, you know, she would have been a student teacher at some time, right? Sometime, and I would have been a student teacher. How many...
Long time ago.
Long time, sure, it can't be that long, but how many different schools did we actually get to see? I think everyone will be quite different, because for myself, I got to see 2 schools in my 2 years of uni placements. So I had 3 placements, but 2 of them were at the same school, which was my own high school anyway. So I'm like, well, I kind of know the place already, the people already, but I did get to see a private school, and that was brand new for me. So I never had been in a private school before, and seeing that, and they were very rich. I probably won't name them, but they were very rich. It was almost felt like walking to Hogwarts. And they had like, it was, yeah, like blazers, boarding school, they had a medieval day that where someone just came with night gear to teach them about, yeah, like what medieval times were like. So it's, yeah, crazy. But I guess I'll start with Mr. Hassan. Do you remember how many different schools you got to see in your uni days?
So in my uni days, I got to see 2 during placement. So I got, one of them was an independent school down in the northern side of town.
Yep.
Where I ended up getting my first job, and one was actually Hampton Park Secondary. And my sister and my brothers had all gone to that school, so I didn't, but I really wanted to see what it was like, and it was a really good experience because it was a public school. It was a lot of different people from all different backgrounds and languages, and yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed it. But then after I finished all of that placement, I actually went overseas for a year. And I volunteered and taught at a private school in Lebanon, where I taught English. I will never teach English in Australia, and don't ever ask me to do that. If the principal team is listening, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But in Lebanon, I was the resident English genius. So I was able to teach some of the kids, and I really enjoyed it because I got to like teach them through song. And they really enjoyed that, yeah, and like understanding the meaning of songs and stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome. How about you, Miss Tan?
I've been to 3. So first year I was at a primary school, and then second year I was obviously Cremernies. Third year I was supposed to be at Westall, but that was cut short because of COVID. So I got like 5 days at that school, and then 4th year I like requested to come back here, otherwise they would have put me at a different school. But I'm a teacher's aide at another independent Catholic school, so I've seen that too.
seen that side as well.
Yeah.
And Mr. Young, yourself?
So I've done 3. So I had one in Vermont Secondary. Then my next one was John Monash Science School, which was pretty cool because, fun fact, my best friend went there for all like his high school years, and he was also studying at the neighboring uni, which is Monash Uni. And so one time I was actually teaching the year 11s there, and then he actually came by to visit that whole high school, and he like just watched me teach, and I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then he just like watched the whole lesson. I was like, okay, please go. Please go.
So yeah, I don't know if you listeners know about John Monash High School, but it's literally right next to Monash University. So imagine like Cranmer East Primary. When we say neighboring school, we don't mean, oh yeah, there's like a few houses or like a street in between. No, it's like stuck together. So they can literally like walk across as well. So, now,
and then last one was obviously here, which I kind of tried to bake my way into a position here with my baking once a week during placement.
Have you baked anything at all for the VCAL office, Miss Tan?
Miss Tan, I haven't seen any baked goods.
I think they're coming. They're coming.
Putting her on the spot
I'll Uber Eats them to your house.
Okay.
Oh, just one teacher? Because I remember Mr. Young was like for every teacher.
I'm sorry. Well, my mentor relationship special. That's why I've been here for 3 years. Best friends now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I guess another question I do want to ask is leading on to Miss Hassan's response before about teaching overseas. Has anyone else ever considered teaching overseas before? Because I remember at uni, one of the common programs that they always advertise is like teaching overseas, especially at Japan. A lot of it was always Japan. Korea wasn't as popular yet back then as it is now. But I mean, I remember for myself when I was still trying to find my first teaching job, I had to consider potentially even going back to Hong Kong to teach because I just couldn't find a job. I was like, maybe I'll find an international school that teaches Australian curriculum, but in Hong Kong, I'll see what I'll do. But luckily, I found Cranbourne East. But have you considered teaching any other countries? And if you haven't, is there a dream one, Miss Tan? And then I'll ask Mr. Young afterwards.
I don't think I've ever considered it because, well, I'm an immigrant, so this is technically teaching overseas. So I'm from Malaysia, so this is teaching overseas. But no, I think I know, right? Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've considered it because I don't want to leave Australia just yet before I even started teaching here. But maybe in like the far future.
Okay, cool. And would you have a dream country that you would imagine going to?
Somewhere where the F1 races are, so I can watch them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried? I know I'll get to Mr. Young in a bit, but have you ever tried teaching when the F1 is going on though? Because I remember going to the CBD for a city experience once, and all you hear just like, and I'm just like, Melbourne High would definitely be able to hear this, and I have no idea how they're going to concentrate the whole day. We're just going meow for hours and straight. Yeah, so
I should just go there and watch. To be honest, I would go on an excursion. Let's go on an excursion. You can learn so much about physics there, I'm sure, and so it can be a whole excursion.
Cool. I'll let you think about how you would write up a proposal for your principal for that. So whilst you're thinking of that, Mr. Young, any particular countries that you thought about?
So originally, before I even got into my degree for teaching, I was like, maybe England. That would be pretty fun because like English, it's like almost like romanticized idea of like being in England. And then I remember actually on my first day in my teaching degree, like we hadn't even started content yet. It was just like welcome to the teaching degree. This is what you'll be doing. And then they handed out a pamphlet being like, teach in England. And I was like, oh, what's this? So I looked at it and they're like, you do not need a teaching degree. They will pay for your flights to go there and you can just teach. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty decent, but I've just signed up for a 2-year degree here. So probably not. And then now that I reflected on it, if I was to go overseas, I think I'd go Canada.
Ah, that's
because it's like it's cold Melbourne.
Cold Melbourne. Interesting that you bring that up, Mr. Young. So maybe next time we could have Mr. Cirillo as a guest, because I know he, being Australian, different to Mr. Churchill, where he came from England after teaching in England, but Mr. Cirillo started here, went over to England, and then came back here. So maybe we could have a chat with him about his experiences next time. But looking at the time now, I know we've been having such a great time catching up and all chatting, but I can't believe it already is time that we probably should bring up our watch list, just because there's more of us today. I thought it would be a good idea if I do bring it a bit earlier in case anyone want to elaborate on any of the shows and so on. So per usual, these shows, there will be trailers in the description of the video below. And of course, with the school holidays coming up, you can feel free to watch some of these. Some of these shows, please be mindful. You need to check the rating as well so that you know what you're signing up for. So maybe I would start first, and then after everyone shares and we talk about it a bit, then I'll also wrap up. Okay. So the show that I want to bring up is a Netflix show, and it's called Scissor Seven, like scissor as in scissors, 7. Okay. Now with this show, it's a cartoon that was originated in, I guess, China, but they've done the English voiceovers for the show as well on Netflix. And so Ronnie Cheng, who's a comedian, he voices the main character. And the reason why I'm recommending it is because season 3 is finally coming out at the start of October. So I plan to rewatch it. And each episode is probably only like 10 minutes long or so. And so it's the funny story about like a hairdresser who also aspires to be the #1 assassin in the world, but he's getting trained by like a little rooster, and it's pretty funny. So I know and the music is so catchy. And then you find out in season 2, here's this whole backstory, and it's a bit more deep. So I'm so keen. So I'm definitely rewatching both first and second season, and then they'll probably just be in time for season 3 to start. So that's my show recommendation. How about you? Let's go down. Miss Tan, you next.
Okay, I don't even know how to pronounce the name of this show. It's a French show. It's Lupin, I think. Spelled
Lupin.
Lupin.
Yep.
It's quite long. There are 2 seasons. I think each episode's like 40-ish minutes.
Yeah.
I think. It's pretty much about this guy whose father was imprisoned for like stealing a necklace. But he knows that his dad didn't do it. So this whole 2 seasons is pretty much him trying to prove that his dad did not do it. And he's actually kind of like a con man, a thief, and he's gotten like all his ideas of how to be a con man, whatever, through a series of books. Lupin, like those books. And I don't know how to explain it. It's a very smart type of show. So if you like watching things and thinking, oh my goodness, that is so smart, how did you even come up with that? That's one for you. Like, it's just, you're just in awe the whole time. You have to pay attention because like little things happen. It's just like a good TV show. I watch it in French. I read the subtitles, but I'm sure you can dub it in English if you want.
Yeah, I know we recommend to our viewers to try to learn to read subtitles a bit more often. And I think I had heard different teachers talk about Lupin in the past before, but I don't think anyone's actually ever recommended it. I'm trying to remember if they have. But yeah, it's like Miss Tan said, it's a French show. So you'll find it on Netflix. Yeah, definitely an interesting one. Let's go to Mr. Young next.
Okay, so the one I do want to recommend, but I don't think it's actually out for us yet. It's the movie, and it's been pretty like debated recently, and it's Shang-Chi and the Seven Rings. But basically, for me, the reason why I'm putting it on the watch list is because if you're like me, who is of an Asian descent, it's very hard for us to actually see a hero that is represented in mainstream media that is of Asian descent as well. So growing up, my idea of a hero did somewhat get affected by the, I guess, the general race of the person who was the hero, which is typically not my ethnicity. And so having a role model for me that is Asian, I think is beneficial, but like, especially as a child, if you're growing up, just to have a hero that is of the same ethnicity as you, there's quite a big impact for you. So yeah, I do recommend a movie that is able to kind of celebrate your culture. For me, part of it would be Shang-Chi.
And another huge reason to watch it is because I'm in it. I don't know if you know, but yeah. I mean, look at the credits. It says it, Tony Leung. Like, but yeah, no. But no, he's playing so that famous actor Tony Leung. I actually chose my name being Tony. I didn't know that there was also a Tony Leung in Hong Kong as the famous actor, because I don't know if a lot of students know. I think I've told some students, but Tony's not actually my given name. I've actually gave that name to myself when I was in high school. But then I heard that he is one of the most complex and most loved Marvel villain that there ever has been so far. So I'm super keen to watch it. Just because he's such a great actor. He's really laid in his acting. And for me, Simu Liu, I remember seeing him from the back the days as a YouTube skits and shorts, and him making his way now to huge Hollywood productions. So I'm more than keen to see it. How about you, Miss Hassan? What show would you like to recommend for our viewers today?
I don't know if it's been recommended already. Money Heist.
Fine. That's fine. Yep. Still give us reasons to watch it. It has been, but still talk about it.
It's just so fabulous. It's so smartly done. I also like Miss Tan. I like to actually watch it in Spanish because I feel like you can see the emotion.
Yep.
It's just one of those. So it's on its 5th season now. So the 5th season, the first half has come out. The second half comes out in December, and that's the final part of it. I love the relationship between the actual actors themselves. So, and there's a lot of I feel like everyone's represented. So there's all different ethnicities in there. There's all people of diverse backgrounds. There's transgender on there. There's people who identify as gay on there, and I really like to see that. And just every single person has such a vital role to play in the whole thing. And I just love the way the professor has thought about every possible, possible thing that could go wrong, and what could possibly, what they could do to get out of it. It's a little bit like this season. I found a little bit more gruesome than other seasons. It's a bit too much bone showing when they have an accident or whatever, or when there's a bomb going off. But apart from that, I still think the relationships between all of the actors is so great. And I think I'm at this point now, I'm are they actually going to get out? And I think one of the biggest things for me is it's one of those shows where, you always watch shows like crime drama and stuff, and it's never positioned in such a way that you feel with the people who are committing the crime. And I feel like in this case that most people who watch Money Heist feel a connection with the people who are actually doing the heist. And I think a big part of that is because, you're learning about their life, and you're learning about their story, and you you're trying to get to know them. I was hooked. And when it came out, I was just nobody to talk to me for 5-6 hours because I'm watching this. I'm just going to binge it. So it was really good.
And it's such a huge cultural revolution, that movie, in the European countries, which is crazy to see as well. Not so much here, but yeah.
No, it wasn't just in the European countries. It was actually Netflix was going to axe it after the first season.
They were, yes. I remember that.
Yeah, and then and now it's the most watched international series on the planet.
Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, everyone's watching it.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the show is that I'm a little bit behind. I've finished season 5, episode 1. But because so many people watch it, and the moment I go on Facebook, it's instantly spoiled what happens to episode 2. And I'm just just because people I don't even look for it. It just comes up. And so I'm just
that's your own fault. You have to drop all social media until you watch it. That's your own fault. So you even need to right now.
I agree.
Drop social media.
Show some real commitment.
But that's the thing, I've never noticed any spoilers or stuff like that before this episode. So it's always been safe. It's always been it's a safe area. And then jumping just because of how big, I'll leave it like that, how big and how important episode 2 is. And I'm just all right, great, sure. All right, thanks, sure. Thanks. Yep, it's gonna.
I'm out. See ya.
Just read the rest of it. Don't worry. Just tell me what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But with that, now that we are going into the school holidays, and with Miss Tan finishing up with our school as well, I thought we'll give a little moment for Miss Tan to say some parting words as well. And Miss Hassan, also you can maybe give some advice to our kids for the holidays. And then me and Mr. Young can sign off the kids as well. So Miss Tan, any final words?
Any final words? Thank you so much to literally every single student that I've come across at Cranbourne East. I will remember you for like the rest of my entire life. I've had the time of my life in this school. Special shout out to like the classes this year, the 12A, 11C, and 11E. I love everyone. They are incredible, and I cannot wait to see like what amazing things everyone gets up to, because I'll be working like 10 minutes from this school. So I'll come visit like during lunchtime.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And thank you to Miss Hassan, obviously, like my best friend ever. So we'll be best friends. We'll be best friends.
She has to say that because I haven't filled out a report yet. So
yes, no wonder why. Right. Yep. Wait till after the report, then you see. Yep.
Exactly.
Don't worry, Miss Tan, I've been there.
Yeah. I should have asked her to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
It's really funny that Miss Tan's been with me for so long that all the teachers always go, "Oh, where's your assistant?" And I always look at them. I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And they're like, Miss Tan. I'm like, "She's not my assistant. She's my student teacher."
Yeah.
And they're all so jelly. There's so much jelly in the VCAL.
Oh yes. Yeah. Once you get a good student teacher, it's like everyone feels jealous for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, mine bakes. Yes. That's like. And Mr. Hassan, do you have any words that you want to say to the kids as they go off onto the school holidays?
Just take some downtime. Get away from your screens for a bit.
Yeah.
Get out into the garden. Get out, have a walk, and look after your mental health. And just remember, you actually have done amazingly. Like this is unprecedented in education. We're all learning as we go, and you guys, you've kept up. You've kept coming to classes. You've kept your head up. What more could we ask as teachers? So when you go into that break, look after yourselves. Take care. Look after your family. And just enjoy it. And if you're really behind in work, it's okay. You know, term 4 is a fresh start. Don't think it's the end of the world because you missed a lot of classes in term 3. Start again fresh in term 4. And for those doing VCE or year 11 and 12 VCAL, take this time to catch up, you know, and do it at your own pace. And just relax, watch Money Heist, like
exactly, so that you don't get spoiled. Jeez. Mr. Young, any final words for our kids before the holidays?
I think Ms. Hassan has already basically covered all the points, but basically I completely agree. You've done really well. There's words can't describe how proud I am of everyone who has actually shown up, or even just gave online learning a shot. It takes quite a bit of maturity to be able to actually do all of this online when even teachers aren't there to be there for you. So, or in person, we're here just in spirit. So really great work. Just make sure you do get some rest. Do that sleep in, play those games. I don't know, chat to your friends. Check in on people, just randomly check in on people just to make sure that everyone's fine. But enjoy the time off. You deserve it. Well, you've more than deserved it. So really good work for this.
So definitely thank you to all of the students who've been viewing and listening to our podcast this whole term. And also thank you to all the teachers that we've had on as guests and ES staff and even student teachers now who've taken some time out from their meeting-free day to spend with us on this podcast to talk to the kids. But thank you so much. We hope to see you all again next season, or in other words, next term, where we'll have a few more guests as well. But until then, stay happy and stay healthy, and we'll see you all next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.